In the last 30 days, the stock market has officially dropped over $5.5 trillion. Now, if you've been in the trading game or just observed the financial markets for a good amount of time, you'll know that this isn't really the end of the world. This has happened actually many times. However, the question we're going to ask ourselves now is, how far will the market continue to drop potentially for the rest of 2025? Now, I don't have the answer to that. I don't control the markets. I'm not a wizard. However, there is a better question that people should be asking themselves during these times, and that's, how can we actually make money when the market's going down? How can we make money if we head into a recession? Because you see, in this video, I'm going to be debunking some myths about how trading really works and how you can take advantage of a bearish market to make some money in 2025. Now, typically when people hear the words recession, when they see the markets crashing the way that they have been over the past month, it becomes very easy to just focus on the negative. But that's where we need to have the massive mindset shift to start actually seeing that chaos as opportunity. See, the truth is, the average working person, they have a retirement plan. They usually have something called a 401k, or they're just generally invested into the stock market. And so when we see the market start to crash the way that it has, you may actually be losing money right now. And of course, that's not a great thing. But ultimately and historically, the markets always rebound and actually continue to grow in the grand scheme of the next year, 5 years, 10 years, etc. But if you're not educated about the ebbs and flows of price action, then of course you're just going to be very stressed, especially with the news being extremely negative about times like this, to where you're going to miss out on the plays available for you to start creating generational wealth. Now, in these same last 30 days, we've seen the market get completely wiped. However, with the students in our private mentorship program called Akashex, we've even seen multiple students earn multiple 5 figures in payouts from the markets. But Rich, how is this even possible? Well, that's why I made this video. I want to show you guys exactly a couple of different strategies that we apply to market conditions like this that help people make money and not just lose money during a stock market crash. Now, there's 2 major strategies that I want to talk about when it comes to how we can actually start to position ourselves to make money during a recession. Now, there's going to be the long-term approach, and then there's going to be the more shorter-term approach. Now, when it comes to the long-term approach, this is going to be getting in stocks at a discounted price, where you're going to give this maybe 6 months, a year, maybe even a few years to really see some great returns. However, you're going to get into stock prices that are super discounted. A great example that I love to use is a stock that a lot of people know and love, but maybe a lot of you didn't buy it when it was the perfect time. And I want to refer back to 2022. So back in 2022, we actually had a bearish market across the board for the stock market, cryptos. It was a really down year overall. And if we look at Netflix, what had happened at that time, we see this stock that went from $700 a share all the way down to $185. Now, that is a massive price difference from 700 to under 200. And at the end of the day, it was like, well, do you believe in Netflix? Do you believe that this is a company that has a valuable product, something that can stand the test of time, whether it's a recession, whether they had some negative company, news at that time? And well, if we look back at it in 2022, getting in on that stock when it was under $200, about 2 years, 3 years later, has now more than basically 5x'd. Now, we're talking about a more conservative stock, right? We're not talking about penny stocks. We're not talking about up and coming companies that are super undervalued, that have huge return potentials. Everybody is going to have a different type of appetite when it comes to their risk portfolio, when it comes to what they're investing in. So make no mistake, nowadays, especially with crypto being on the rise and really being established in the financial industries, we're seeing people kind of see a 2x, 3x, 5x as a normal thing, even slow for most people. But again, in the world of the stock market, if you're more conservative, if you like to have a portfolio of pretty well-established companies, having a more than 5x return on a very stable company, something like Netflix, is not too shabby at all. But this was made possible because of market conditions that existed in 2022. I'm bringing up Netflix because that's a very dramatic example of you being able to have a much bigger return on a stable stock when it was the right time. But let's look at something a little bit more recent. So if we look at something like Tesla right now, Tesla not too long ago was peaking at about $490 a share, nearly $500. And over the last several months, we've seen a dramatic drop off in the price of the stock. At this very moment, it's at 250. It had even hit about 215, and there's a potential this maybe even comes a little bit lower. Now, I'm not a financial advisor. I don't give financial advice, and I'm not telling you to buy Tesla stock. But what I'm saying is, if you believe in a company, for example, like Tesla, we're seeing a price that is basically chopped in more than half right now. So you have the potential of getting in at this stock, for example, at this current price. And if we hit new all-time highs on the stock, then you're gonna basically double your money. Now, personally, for me, I've been invested into something called Peloton. Maybe a lot of you guys know what this is, maybe some of you don't, but essentially this is it's a company that basically makes exercise bikes, but they integrate it with technology and trainers, and they have this whole ecosystem. You guys can do your research on Peloton, but this was a severely underpriced stock compared to where it has been. Now, I personally got into positions at about $3.50, and we've had actually a pretty strong drop in the last several weeks. We had actually hit about $10.50. Right now we're currently sitting at $7, but even at $7, I'm still doubled my money on this specific stock. And I personally have targets to take this stock up all the way up to $55 plus. Now, I could be right, I could be wrong, but ultimately this is a play that I personally invested in, and it's going well for me so far. So I'm not telling you exactly what stocks to be choosing from, but I want you to have the mindset that whenever the market is crashing as aggressively as it is right now, it's an opportunity to get really discounted prices on companies you may really want to believe in and invest in for a really great entry price. So again, just have in mind that especially in the stock market, you're not gonna look to 10x, 20x your money very easily just like that. But if you have a part of your portfolio, a part of your income that you want to diversify and put into something that can grow over time, this is really the moment to really take advantage of, getting in at a lower price. Everybody knows the term buy low, sell high, but people psychologically tend to not really follow that rule when it comes time, because when it's buy low time, it's also very negative news time, and so that scares a lot of people. Now, the second way that we can actually take advantage of a downtrending bearish market is by day trading CFDs and or futures. So I have a portfolio of stocks and cryptos that I basically buy and hold for an extended period of time, looking to get in at low prices, letting them grow over the course of weeks, months, years. But the other aspect is the day trading aspect, position trading, where we don't just have to buy and hold to make money, but we can actually have short positions or sell positions in the market where we're really not even looking for huge movements, but just those day-to-day pushes to the downside that can help us make some money. So if you want to grab stocks, for example, and buy and hold and have that approach, you can utilize, apps such as Robinhood, Uphold. You can, buy stocks through something like Schwab. But when it comes to day trading in this style, I utilize either personal brokers and or prop firms to basically trade this market on a daily basis, looking for both buy positions and even sell positions. Now, I've talked in other videos, the partners that we have within the private mentorship for both personal brokers and for prop firms to start taking advantage of these movements on the day trading side. And you can find the links to the videos where I break down those brokers and prop firms right up here. Now, when we are doing this style of day trading, there are several platforms that I've used over the past several years, but the most recent platform that we're currently using right now is something called TradeLocker. Now, aside from TradeLocker, we've really run through a couple of other different programs, one big one being MetaTrader. A lot of you who have maybe traded a little bit in the past several years have use something like MetaTrader 4, MetaTrader 5. There are also other platforms that are becoming increasingly more popular over time, such as CTrader, and a lot of in-house platforms relative to these brokers where you're able to execute your trades. But for this example, I'm going to be utilizing again TradeLocker simply because that's the system that I've gotten very used to over the past year and change, because we have Trident Markets, TradexMastery, and our partners that utilize TradeLocker for their system. Now, when we are using TradeLocker, we're going to be able to see that we have this option right here to basically execute a trade. Now, at the time of this recording, we have a market that is currently closed as far as trading NASDAQ, which is the main thing that I trade. However, there are other markets that are open 24/7, such as crypto. So if you like day trading something like Bitcoin, you technically can be executing positions around the clock. As far as NASDAQ goes, you can trade it as early as 6 p.m. Eastern on Sundays, all the way up to 5 p.m. Eastern on Fridays. But personally, I tend to just really focus on trading Monday through Friday on a daily basis, the NASDAQ, usually in the mornings during New York session from about 8 a.m. Eastern. And so if we actually look at a little bit more detail here, and we see that we have a buy button and a sell button. So again, most people have this idea when they're unfamiliar with trading that we basically just need to buy at a certain price in the market and wait for it to go up. But as we can see here, we actually have the ability to have the sell option. So assuming that we have a sell option, we can basically program the platform to set us up with what is called a stop loss and a take profit. So let's say that we have a small trading account and we want to risk something like $50 on a trade. We can program it to basically risk $50 on this trade, and we're going to target a 3-to-1 risk to reward ratio to basically make a total of $150. And so essentially the trade will look something like this, where we can be entering the market having a set risk of $50. So we're gonna adjust this here, $50 risk to have a $150 gain, and we can jump into a trade expecting for the market to basically reverse from this point and continue down, which would net us that profit. So from this example, you can see that if we're day trading the financial markets, we can position ourselves to understand when the market can go up and also when can it go down. And I've personally built a strategy called Liberty that is very popular within the private mentorship program, where we're looking at NASDAQ on a daily basis, not just for buy movements, but again, we've been selling NASDAQ for several weeks now, catching those moves to the downside and being able to profit from it. So we have people that are growing their small personal accounts trading the strategy, and we also have people trading funded challenge accounts making 4, 5+ figures on a monthly basis from these moves. Now, as you may be able to tell, there's a lot of different routes in which you can take your trading, but a plan that myself and some of the other educators in our program have put together is a way for people to maximize their day, maximize their trading, which is going to be through acquiring max funding through prop firms and then diversifying that into high leverage plays such as crypto investments. And through this plan is how we're actually getting real people to have real results. Because ultimately, when you have access to a very strong amount of capital, it makes the income through trading so much more realistic, so much more possible. So by utilizing my specific strategy with a max funded account of, let's say, a $200,000 prop firm, we've seen people again be able to generate 4 to 5 figures, sometimes even on a monthly basis, and then take that income and diversify that into plays like the ones I gave you earlier, whether it's stocks that have a high return potential and or cryptos that can do the exact same thing. So with that said, never let anybody put you into that state of mind of fear where you can't get involved in these type of market conditions, where you can't take massive advantage of what has been going on with the markets. All it takes is the proper education and the proper strategy for you to absolutely win in this season. So make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on those post notifications so you don't miss any future videos from me. If you're serious about actually winning in these conditions and you need some help, make sure to get access to the private mentorship program where you can work hands-on with me and my team so that you guys can stay in the loop with what's going on and to ultimately come out on top. But with that said, appreciate you guys. Take care. And as always, let's run it up.